my name is Vip Vipperman. I'm excited to be here back again, hearing the stories of entrepreneurs building incredible companies that are impacting the lives of so many people. Today, I'm excited to be sharing with Matthew Flippen, the founder and CEO of Gracelyn University, and just excited to hear a little bit more of his story and share it with you listeners. So, Matthew, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Bip. It's an honor to be here. I'm a huge fan of yours and this effort, so just grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit of our story.
Awesome, awesome. And you're calling in from DFW?
DFW area for sure.
Love
Yep.
it. Dallas, Texas. Big D. Glad to be here, man. Awesome. Well, let's get started off this morning. Tell us a little bit about your background as we're jumping into the story, just how you became an entrepreneur.
Well, I think as many entrepreneurs probably start with my mindset, which is we're not qualified to work for other people. And so that started when I was 15 and, had my first lawn mowing business that, I grew up and sold it when I went to college so I could pay to marry my high school sweetheart. So that was the early part. She's still married to me 33 years later, even though...
That's a huge win.
A huge win. I don't think she knew we were going from lawn mowing business to university, and a lot of things in between, but it's been quite the journey.
That's awesome. So how did you get this vision for education and being a part of this type of business?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll back up and fill in a little gaps because it's quite a journey that was unplanned, I guess is the way I would answer that. I had the opportunity to get my MBA and graduate in the year 2000 and moved to Austin, Texas with my family and started my first venture funded effort then. If many will remember that was the end of the .com era, and so I had an extremely humbling experience of seeing my first business go under in 11 months. And that was a tremendous learning opportunity for me and very humbling at the same time. And so I started this quest of how can I honor God with the entrepreneur spirit that I have, and what does that really look like? And so that led me into financial services for a little bit. And my brother and I bought a stone quarry. So we had gone from tech to digging rocks out of the ground.
Okay.
And then, in the middle of that, so that's like 2004 to 2010, God really moved in my heart for the orphan and the widow. And he really convicted me through a series of events that was I placing Jesus as number one, or was he number two, or three, or four? And I had to really wrestle with, am I really going to follow and honor Jesus with my gifts and talents? So answering that question with yes, I'm all in, led our family actually to adopting twin baby boys from Ethiopia in 2008. And that really built this heart for the vulnerable. So that heart for the vulnerable then would lead to God taking us to work in Haiti for 8 years, when the earthquake happened in 2010, had this real clear vision to start a construction materials company. So,
back to the rocks.
To the digging the rocks out of the ground, how is God going to use this? And, he's going to use it to help build, help us provide reconstruction materials to the country of Haiti.
Interesting.
And so, having the opportunity to be in Haiti for that amount of time, I really got to see how, there's like 40,000 NGOs working in Haiti, and yet Haiti is not advancing. Of course, even now, it's even a more heartbreaking situation. But also seeing how business provided the opportunities for work with dignity, the potential for discipleship. And so when I had the opportunity to come out of Haiti, I would say God closed the door. Haiti was not an opportunity, any longer. I came back to the U.S. with this, vision of how can I serve orphans and widows? How can I help the vulnerable in a way that provides sustainable funding and advances the principles of the gospel? And so, I had the opportunity to go and visit with school systems across the U.S., do some consulting, and right off the bat, they were actually sharing two things because I'd done a little consulting in the education space maybe 20 years earlier. And I said, hey, it's been 20 years since I've been in this industry. What's different? And they said, well, one, about 10% of the children in our school systems are homeless. And I was like, oh
What?
my gosh. Yeah. I mean, as a father, as an adopting father, I'm like, well, 10% is more than I can care for directly.
That's not the Haiti school system. That's the American school system.
Yes, that was Charlotte, North Carolina, is where I was at the time when they
Wow.
set that statistic that I went and verified in some other places, which is super challenging. And the second thing they said is we have a huge teacher shortage issue. And
Mm.
so I thought, okay, well, tell me about the teacher shortage issue. And as I researched that, I saw that, wow, this is pre-COVID, right? It was 250,000 vacancies on an annual basis. Post-COVID, it's 600,000 underqualified teachers, which means they have people in place, but but of course they're not certified or maybe don't necessarily have their degree. And so I thought, wow, this is an opportunity because a lot of these vacancies are with school systems that have very vulnerable children and vulnerable from a huge range of risk factors. And so that's really what started the idea of how do we help someone step into that role of being that certified teacher.
Okay. No, fascinating. All right. So, what's the solution you built? Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it's um, we asked a lot of people, right? I mean, when you're looking for 600,000 people, right? It's like, where are we going?
600,000 teachers
Yeah, that's right. Where are we going
to
to
fill
find
this.
600,000 teachers? And so, wouldn't you know they would already be in the building? They would just
Mm.
be working in the role of paraprofessional, instructional assistant, support staff, secretary, cafeteria. There's about 3 million teachers in the US, and there's about 3 million other, right? And of that other, about 1.5 million are non-certified. And so we thought, well, hey, let's see if that population has an interest in being teachers. And so we did a big survey project. We got about 3,000 responses. 90% of the group that we surveyed said they wanted to be teachers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that blew us away. So we're like, well, if you want to, why aren't you?
What? Yeah. What's holding you back?
What's holding you back, right? So now we've got the a problem. We have a potential solution, and so we started to actually unpack like what are the barriers that they're facing. So like 64% of that population are single parents, and they're low income. So they're
Mm.
parents with very little resources. So they have no time and no money. Right.
Right.
So we're like, okay, so what if we could solve those by
Mm.
building a program that was 100% online and that was affordable to what they said they could pay was $100 a month. Now that's a challenge when you're looking at higher education.
Right. Right. We've been looking at education for our daughter for college next year. It's not a hundred
It's
bucks a
not
month.
$100 a month. No,
It's like 20,000 for 3 months.
that's right. That's not
Yeah.
even a meal plan, right? I mean,
Right.
but we thought, okay, well, if we start from scratch,
Mm.
which I'd had the opportunity to do a few times at this point, but not in higher ed. And so, fortunately, with some good advisors and university presidents being willing to just really share with me the economics of higher education and how if you were building it from scratch today using technology and the systems that are available, avoiding federal financial aid, which seems counterintuitive, but to comply with federal financial aid actually, doubles your cost structure. So we said, okay,
Wow.
let's take that out. And so that led us to build a program that for most of our students costs $100 a month for them to earn their bachelor's degree. And we're serving, 99% of our students are the single mom, paraprofessional, already working in a school system. Yeah.
Wow. So you've done it. I mean, you've built the product and
It
now
took
it's just getting it out there.
That's right. It's taken us about 4 years to get through the accreditation process, uh,
Okay.
which I had never done that before. I wouldn't sign up to do it again. But I would definitely say, God, could you hand me this after this step is complete? But
So when you call it Gracelyn University, you are an accredited university. This education is equivalent to,
that's right.
going to, Texas Tech or one of the other schools in
It
Texas.
is, yeah, and which is really interesting to think about. That you could build from scratch a 100% online institution that's recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. We could qualify for Title IV financial aid. We just have chosen not to.
Yeah.
Why that's important in the teacher space is states require teachers to have a degree from an accredited institution to become certified. And there are paths you can take now for college that don't necessarily require accredited degree, but becoming a teacher is definitely one of them.
Awesome. Man, so tell us about well, I've got a ton of questions about how it works. I guess do that real quick, just for the listener out there. How does this actually work? Like someone jumps in online at night, they watch a couple
Yeah.
hours of class, they take a test, and just like any other online education program, they kind of work through. And then tell us how long it takes too.
Yeah. So there it turns out there are some real specific ways to keep people engaged in online education. So one of the criticisms of online is, the completion rates are very low. And, we're training people to be teachers, which is very relational. I mean, our model is you build a relationship first with a child and then you educate them. And so we need to model that in how we're doing online. Well, we're doing online asynchronous, which means there's no live classes. So how do you do that? Well, you very intentionally, you connect your work to your purpose, right? So we're not just teaching kids, we're changing lives, right? We're being an intervention in a child who's struggling in a subject or in their home life, right? We are taking the many of our students have painful pasts that they've gone through, and we're showing them how those actually connect to their purpose. So we're making a real strong why. Why are you doing this? And if that's your why, and you're paired with a cohort of people that have the same why, let's make sure you share those stories across, and now you're very emotionally invested and connected. That and your instructors are K-12 educators, so they can relate. Your success coach is a K-12 educator, so they can relate. So the whole system is built so that, the results are, we have 92% completion rates, which is
Man.
astronomical, especially given the at-risk nature of our student population.
Yeah. Do you know the in-person study rates like of a typical education degree?
Yeah, with our population, the in-person graduation rate is 10%.
Wow.
10%. Yeah.
And you're getting 90 plus.
90 plus percent.
That's,
Yeah, for
oh my word.
$100 a month.
It's unreal.
So,
No, it's amazing.
and it's,
Yeah.
I can't take credit for it. It's a lot of great people who know a lot about education. And then, of course, we got to download some insights into people, from God's word. So,
Man. Well, tell me about the impact that you're having so far. I heard recently you had a monumental something that happened.
yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, we had our first graduation just about a month ago, exactly to the day, and what an incredible celebration! I mean, we had 40 graduates, we had 150 family members show up to support them, and you may have seen the picture, Vip, of some of the graduation, but
Yeah, I have.
our average student, is 35 years old, right? Has family, has lots of responsibilities, lots of challenges. And for them to persevere through, this process on top of everything else that they faced, it's just really, really incredible. I mean, their level of resiliency is inspirational, really, for me.
That's awesome. Now, do y'all have plans for? I mean, first off, congratulations!
Yeah,
Just
thanks.
thrilled to death to see it. Do y'all have plans for following with them for the next, 6 months to a couple years? Like, what does that look like to
Sure.
see how they do as they, get
Yeah.
into the classroom more actively?
Oh, definitely. So, 99% of them were already working in a school system.
Right. Okay.
They've upskilled into a teacher role most of the time in the same building where they already had lots of relationships. So, one of the challenges we were trying to tackle was the turnover issue of new teachers, right? A new teacher who comes out of a traditional 4-year school, who's 22 years old, walks into a building, doesn't know anybody, has got to like learn to teach and unfortunately the turnover rate of that population is 50 to 60% in the first year.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Okay.
so
That's much
we're
higher than
like,
I would have expected.
yeah, so it's and whether that's Texas A&M or others, I mean it's there are unfortunately the structure is just you've gone from college to
Right. Teaching
really
full
hard.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, but our model is the people that we're serving have already been on those campuses for 5+ years. So they have
Hmm.
lots of relationships, lots of community support, and so for them to be successful is they've already proven that, right? We say, hey,
Yeah.
they already have the heart and the grit to be educators. They just didn't have the credential, and that's the part that we're providing. But
Well, my
to answer your
my
question though,
assumption. Go ahead.
no,
Sorry. I was just
yeah,
saying my assumption would be the whole community around them is cheering them on during
oh,
that time too, because they want them to become a
yes.
full-fledged teacher.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So yeah, so we support them for 2 years after, where they still have their same success coach. They can
Oh,
still
nice.
call in. They're still a member of our community. I mean, they're alumni, but they are really family to us is how we view them. But yeah, part of the biggest ways that we market is through those campus leaders. One of the things that we didn't appreciate about this population, and this is probably true for a lot of people that are in lower income roles, is they really need an advocate. They need
Mm,
somebody to vision cast on them personally. It's like Vip. I know you can do this next great thing. I've seen it in you, and so we reach out to campus principals as part of our marketing and say, hey, who on your campus would make a great teacher but doesn't have a path? Would you connect them to us and use the words, I think you'd make a great teacher? Talk to Gracelyn.
awesome. So you're empowering people at the end of the day. I mean, it's truly empowering people that have a heart to serve already. Tell me about the student. One of the things, as I've talked to you before, it seems like this that you love the teacher, you love upskilling this person, getting them set up to be
Mhm.
successful, so that they have an economic engine to provide for themselves, but so that they can also serve in the classroom. But if I'm not mistaken, talking to you, that student who's receiving the education is also a huge part of the passion that you guys have. Tell me a little bit about that and where it came from.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to. All of us were children, right?
Yeah.
It's a given thing, right? And many of us can connect, can remember that one teacher, that one coach, right? Who was that for you, Vip? Does somebody come to mind?
You know, uh, I'm trying to think. I mean, been so many good teachers along the years. I feel like Abernathy at the beginning, Miss Burke, along the way. It's funny,
Yeah.
like the ones that specifically stick out to you. Man, Miss Myrick in Latin class in high school that
Yeah.
just cared, right? Like wanted to see me educated, wanted my life to
Yes.
be good and to be a good student.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that is so formative, right? And we all need that teacher who just loves us for some reason, right? And we can kind of think back and go, they didn't love every kid in the class like they loved me, or maybe they did, and I just felt special, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, when we think about kids, children, right? So pre-K, I mean, we're serving teachers that educate 0-year-olds, right? to 18-year-olds. Right,
Okay.
that's our target audience. But we think about children in those circumstances that are coming out of really hard lives many times, right? I mean, they're coming to school from violent homes. They're coming to school from broken homes, from with food insecurity, with a whole host of things, just brokenness, right?
Hmm.
And they're walking into school, and the teacher has the opportunity to be that safe, trusted adult who does literally speak life, hope, future vision into the child. There's actually been lots of research that has been done that says in your K-12 experience, if you have one teacher that is that trusted adult, it will reduce your likelihood to drop out for early sexual activity, drug use, all these things by 70 to
Hmm.
80%.
Oh,
One
nice.
person over that time. And so, you know, we want all children to reach the potential that God has given them.
Damn.
But that comes from, the teacher, like for me, Miss Davidson, right, in fourth grade, right?
Okay.
Miss Sanders, right, in 10th grade, who these times in my life where my home life was really not encouraging, not good, but that teacher was believing in me, that I could accomplish more than what I thought was going to happen. You know,
Yeah, dude. Oh, I remember going to class, I think it was fourth grade, and I had just gotten glasses. It was so embarrassed to wear them and like hid them in the desk the first day. And just the teacher, I think that was Miss Burkett, that like just coming
yeah,
over and making me feel comfortable to put those on and not be embarrassed and
yeah,
just
yeah.
feel comfortable in the classroom with the other students, and
Hmm.
how much of a difference, that made. I mean, dude, I could see again in the classroom. Like when you can see the board, it makes a big difference. But if I had gotten glasses and still hid them in my desk because I was so embarrassed and nobody cared for me and showed that, so it's amazing to think of.
Ah,
So I mean, I want to jump in here and just say, so what's the vision? I mean, we can all think of like our personal story and that teacher that may have impacted us.
mhm.
I mean, in this first class is 40. Is the next class 100 and then
Sure.
1,000? Like, what kind of scale are we talking about here?
Thank you for asking that, Vip, and for being part of this story. You and I've known each other maybe for 3 years now. So when this was more of a, hey, we're barely operating, to, where we are today. So we have almost 1,000 students enrolled right now. Our next graduating class will have a little over 100. And we'll expecting 500 family members to show up. One of the beautiful things about the way we've been able to build our model is it is extremely scalable. So, for
Mm,
us, we can grow to 3,000 and, even 10,000 students in a relatively short period of time,
wow.
still providing this incredible amount of care and support for our students. The ultimate vision, right, is that every child would have a competent, compassionate teacher trained from a biblical worldview. So, what does that mean? That means we need to fill those 600,000 spaces. And as people gain more confidence in the quality of graduates that Graceland has, and our
Mm,
reputation starts to grow, we mentioned $100 a credit hour. So that means for $5,000, you're getting an entire bachelor's degree and teacher certification. So as that becomes known, we expect most people that want to become teachers to come through our program. Why would you not? I mean, education doesn't pay well, so the return on investment is incredibly high, if you're working with a model like what we have.
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, talk to me about, we're talked about some of the celebrations. We've talked about some of the ways that
Sure.
teachers make you feel, but have there been any hard days as well? Entrepreneurs always talk about, you know, you mentioned some of the challenges in previous companies. Have there been hard days where you think it wasn't possible or that it wasn't going to work out?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yesterday. you know,
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that true? I mean, every day, as an entrepreneur, you focus on the good things, you learn from the hardships, and you press on. For our team, right? I mean, I'm casting vision, I'm encouraging. We're brainstorming through, how to overcome challenges. But I think some of the when you look at what we were trying to do, right? And you go back to the beginning and you go in to tell people you're trying to raise money to fund this, right? And you're saying, hey, we're going to offer a bachelor's degree for $5,000. Who's going to believe that?
Right.
Right?
You're crazy. Is probably what
Right.
I think.
You're crazy. Right. And your target population are going to be these low income people that aren't ever successful. Right. So, I mean, you look at this from the outside and people are like, yeah, that's a nice thought, Matthew, but really, yeah, that's not going to work. And so, we were fortunate that we had some donors really through the nonprofit that we set up, fund through grants and other things, an opportunity for us to move down the path. And we pretty quickly had students and they were being successful, but the can you get accredited was a big challenge, right? Can we get through the accreditation process? And so, that just happened in March, of this year, and so that was a huge relief that unlocked a lot of additional capital that now we're being able to put into growth. My challenge now is, there are 1.2 million people in our population, and we want to serve as many of them as possible. And how do we connect with them in a way that that they'll engage and step into the process with us?
Awesome. Well, that jumps to typically one of our final questions, and then maybe I'll put them in backwards order this time. But what's
Sure.
the next step for people? If someone's listened to this podcast, whether it's they're in that job, for some reason, or they're getting
Sure.
educated, right? Think about educating in the teacher space right now.
Hmm.
What's the step for them? Or if someone's a principal of a school, and thinking, man, this sounds amazing to have some of my most passionate people that work for me to be uplifted, upskilled into a role where they can serve the students even better.
Yes. Yeah. For those that have family members that want to be teachers, right? Have them call us. Right. We would love to serve them.
And that's at gracelyn.edu.
Gracelyn.edu, LYN,
Okay.
Grace, LYN.edu. And that's whether they need their bachelor's degree or their master's degree. We can help them, become great educators. And for principals or school administrators that would want to encourage their staff to participate, same thing. Reach out to us. I think the other group that we're after is, the tuition and the program itself is very affordable. But then there is the certification exam cost that a teacher has to pay, that they pay to a third party. And so
Okay.
we are building a scholarship fund to reimburse our students that are successful in that. And so there's a way to donate, it's about $1,000 a student in certification fees. And so we're raising funds for that, and also using those funds as a way to provide those scholarships into school district foundations, where they
Nice.
can actually participate in that process as well.
Is that also something people could find out about on the website?
They could. I mean, they would want to reach out to me directly for that opportunity.
So we might be able to pop an email address in the show notes, as it were. We'll get that. Matthew.Flippen at gracelyn.edu.
That's it. That's
Yep.
right.
Hey, tell me, why Gracelyn?
Hmm.
Like, what's the name? I may have heard the story once before, but this one
Sure.
a little foggy, and our audience definitely hasn't heard. What was it about that name?
Yes. When we look at our core values that really drive us, grace is the element of that, right? It's not we want to give grace to our students because their lives are complicated, and for them to complete the process requires grace. But we want them to also show grace, right? And to the K-12, students that they're serving. So Graceland means abundant grace, and I think that
Okay.
very much captures who we are as an organization and who we want those that represent us to be as well.
Awesome. Well, man, thanks for your time today. I love the story. I'm excited about the things that are happening at Gracelyn University. And I'm looking forward to being at the next graduation event. I was so bummed. We were out of town, family vacation, couldn't make it to the
Sure.
last one. I can't wait to be at a graduation to see the faces
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
folks that are coming through. And just so excited. So
Thanks.
excited about the work you guys are doing and looking forward to staying in touch. Ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, Matthew Flippen.
Thanks, Phil.